Billy, meeting come to order. Everybody's here except Mike. Need a motion for the approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for utility board meeting June 10th, 2019.
Second.
Motion made and second. Need a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Need a motion for the approval of the utility board minutes of April the 8th. That first one is June the 10th.
Yeah, this is the amended one where Ashley asked me to put in the John Carson part.
I make a motion to approve the utility board meeting amendment for April 8th, 2019.
Second.
Got a motion seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. Okay. The adjustments.
Do you want to
For the
move?
claims docket needed moved to the town board meeting.
Make a motion to move the claims docket to the town hall meeting.
All in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Adjustment report, Michelle.
So the first one for, Leonard, Leonard. That was just the adjustment for the wastewater, for his 13,000 gallon pool fill. You can see on Stephanie and Latricia, that's when I was gone and Tammy didn't realize the invoice cloud imported the 2018 payments rather than the 2019. Instead of doing a reverse cash, she did an adjustment to take away that payment. We got that fixed today, so that's all that was. And then the one for Mulberry, for some reason their bill was not generating. They just have a $10 flat bill every month. So we had to go in and generate their bill for January through April. And that was it.
Any questions on it? Need a motion to approve the adjustment.
Make a motion to approve the adjustment report.
All in favor of it?
Aye.
Motion passed. Clerk treasurer report.
So for this side, you'll see that I put on, the desk a history summary printout for 609 Clifty Falls. This house, or this property, has been sold. The new tenants came and talked to me. There was never a lien put on this property because this person who owned it actually filed bankruptcy 4/20 of 18, and it was discharged 8/15 of 18. You can see on April 3rd of 2018, before she vacated the property, she did pay $745.15. Since then, the bill has been sitting because her attorney told her not to pay anything since she filed bankruptcy on that property. So since it's been sitting, it has generated a bill of $961.18. The new owner of the property is requesting to only pay what he is legally responsible for, which is the wastewater. So if you add up the wastewater charges, it comes to $348.18. There is $22.55 in penalties that he's asking to be waived, that he not pay since it was not his responsibility. There is a deposit that is left on the account of $125. If the board does, and I told them that this was completely up to the board, so I brought up the different scenarios. If the board is willing to waive the $22.55 in penalties and apply the $125 to that wastewater charge, then he would pay the $223.18, and then it would leave a remaining balance of $613 that the board would then choose to write off if they do so choose to. If you don't want to apply the $125 deposit to the wastewater and apply it to the 613, then he would be responsible for the 348.18. So he just asked me to ask the board if they would be willing to help him out with the bill since the wastewater is his only legal responsibility.
Why is wastewater his only legal responsibility?
Because that's what, that's what we can only legally put a lien on the property for, is the wastewater. It's their only legal responsibility. So like, we put the liens for the full amounts of the bills, and then if they can contest it. The wastewater is the new person's.
As a property owner, I paid several water bills that were over and above the wastewater.
Right.
And my understanding was that wastewater we cannot legally turn off. But my understanding, per Indiana law, we are able to collect both water and wastewater.
According to Tippecanoe, we can only do wastewater, that's why it's called a wastewater lien, it's not a water lien. And I think Ron and I have discussed this before. Reed, do you have input on that?
It's not been this board's past experience to excuse any of the billing.
Right.
Yeah, actually, it's right, we never have, we've always
Right,
Right.
put a lien against the whole
Right.
amount.
And collected it.
And collected it.
A new property
And
owner.
we've always collected it.
I just don't think there's been anybody, I guess, to fight it. So, like I said, I'm just bringing in what I've been told.
I've checked into fighting it in the past on different property issues, and, we cannot legally turn off wastewater. I agree with that. We are entitled to collect both water and wastewater and penalties and everything. And anybody that buys a property, at auction or how they happen to purchase that property, it's incumbent upon them to find liens and check with utilities and such.
Is that something we, that we can't?
That has always been my, and that's why it's called a wastewater lien at the county. It's not a water or utility. I mean, I can research farther to make sure, but that's what I was
So I
always.
think it's non-payment of a wastewater bill or non-payment of a water bill, that the law describes it as, but sometimes that bill is wastewater and water, invoiced in one bill. I think that you can't disconnect service for non-payment of water. You can for non-payment of wastewater. That's what I just looked at.
Maybe that's the way around.
How can you turn
You
off?
said non-payment of water.
You can disconnect the utility
Correct.
service.
But you cannot
Or
disconnect,
non-payment, yeah.
you cannot disconnect
Wastewater.
wastewater, sewage,
You can't technically go out and shut it off somehow.
Yeah, I'm not talking about what you can disconnect. I'm just saying you can't disconnect anything for non-payment of a water bill. You can disconnect it for non-payment of a wastewater bill. So you can disconnect water for non-payment
Of
of
a
a
wastewater.
wastewater bill. You just can't. So, but if you have a bill that's for both, then, really you're disconnecting for non-payment of a wastewater bill. And that's where it gets into
So I have a
kind
question.
of gray area. So that's separate from the lien.
If there was no lien, the person did bankruptcy, wouldn't that bankruptcy have covered all of their debt? Wouldn't that have wiped it out?
Be a write-off.
Not if they didn't include it.
Well, the home itself was, I don't know if Dayton, we would have to see if we could get a copy of that bankruptcy, but I don't know.
We would have been notified by bankruptcy court if we were included in that bankruptcy.
Yeah, if she would have listed town of Dayton, yes, her attorney told her not to pay the water bill as she was continually, to this day, still getting the water bill because nobody had bought the property. But her attorney told her that she was not legally responsible for any of it because she filed bankruptcy on that property.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
think she would have to name this,
Yeah, she does.
yeah.
If somebody files bankruptcy against you, you know it, because you get a letter in the mail.
Yeah. Now, in her bankruptcy was discharged 8/15 of 18, she did pay 745.15 on 8/3. And then the property was discharged from her, or that bankruptcy was discharged at that time, and then after that, she did never pay another dime.
So is all of this from that discharge date, so she was paid up,
Yeah.
completely paid off?
Yeah, she actually had a credit of $7.91 as of her discharge
So,
date.
did the bank own the house then? Because would it go back on whoever took the property?
I'm assuming that, yeah, the bank, whoever took it back. So then this just now built to
Necessarily,
961.
Foreclosure is different than bankruptcy. Could be still in her name.
Yes, actually, yes, you're correct, it is. The
Okay.
Beacon, it was still in her name until they just bought this. Until the new people just bought this property.
But the underlying synopsis here is we have a new property owner that must credit for.
Well, to only pay the wastewater part.
And my whole thing is, we've never done that in the past, this board, for as long as I can remember, or as long as you can remember, Ron,
We never,
this guy.
yeah.
So,
never have.
remember, if we don't file a lien, that doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to collect payment, because there's a difference between owing that debt versus a lien. So I think it might be that we only have technically can have a lien in the amount of the wastewater, but
Still
that's a
collect the whole
separate
debt.
question of whether that amount is owed to the town.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So they don't pay the water, you don't turn it back on.
Well, he's ultimately saying that I can only place a lien on the wastewater, but we can still force them to pay the whole bill. But I can only place a lien
Yeah,
technically for the wastewater
Yeah,
part.
but as long as we don't turn it back on, they have to pay until they pay that water, that we just don't turn it back on until they pay the water.
and when this person, and, the difference between having a lien or not is what happens when that person buys it, because if there is a lien, then they should have notice, and they should get that cleared up, and, it's between the buyer and the seller to get that taken care of at the time of purchase. If not, then that's when purchaser might not really know what they were buying, but they're still probably
It's also, it's incumbent on the purchaser, when you buy something, you buy it with all flaws and
Right.
rare reasons. Because my motion is not to offer any credit on this particular address.
What about penalties? As if they're gonna be required to pay the whole bill, can we waive at least the penalties part since? I mean, that's what I think
We
we
never-
did do
we-
that
We've
for,
done that.
For 12 years when I was clerk, we never wrote off anything. We
right,
just- We entered it, they had to pay the whole thing, and it was fair to everybody in this town. One wasn't.
so
getting
they have to
anything.
pay the $961.18 minus the $125 deposit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I will let them know. So the next thing is, so for 255 Conjunction, we did place a lien on that property for the amount of $1,101.01. That property was actually sold at sheriff's sale last May. So that full bill was actually $2,362.02. But we could only place the lien from when it was purchased last May. Luckily, the bank was nice enough, they contacted us and asked us what the full balance was and paid the whole thing. So we just got that check, so now that has been paid in full, and that lien is being released, and actually, I hear that there's a closing coming up on that. The mowing lien is still attached to that property, because that was one of the properties that Scott abated. And then I think that was it on the utility side.
Reed, do you have anything?
Yes, just Dayton United Methodist Church, partial settlement agreement and release. So that was sent to all the board members. If you have any questions,
For
can
the-
discuss it. This is,
For which one, the oversizing or the?
this is for the stormwater. So it's, already what's been agreed upon. This is the legal document to get partial release so that, you know, we're paying them $23,230, and they're releasing all claims related specifically to that stormwater cost recovery fee. Everything else is still open. So, this has been sent on to the church, and it's just a matter of.
They've got it, they've got it.
Yeah, they got it. I haven't heard anything from them, but it's my understanding that they'll address this at their July meeting.
Do you have a date on that July meeting?
I don't.
So do we need to do anything now? Till we
Yeah.
hear from them? Or?
Yeah, I think that we should go ahead and now present them a signed copy. And then it'll just be on them to return a signed copy since we're here. That will just move things along. So.
You guys have any thoughts on it?
I think we ought to resolve all businesses with the church rather than piecemealing it.
I think we need to take one thing at a time because we discussed one thing at a time. Instead of lumping it all together and holding something over their heads to get something we want. Okay, I think the church has relayed that to you, Reed, you know, that they're going through each of these phases as we present it to them. And like you said, the easements don't have anything to do with any of this other stuff. They have nothing to do with it. These are, the stormwater is one issue, the oversizing is an issue, and the easement's a third issue. The one doesn't have anything to do with the other.
Yeah, so my recommendation is
Just go into a detention pond there.
what's that?
The detention pond.
Yeah. So I need you, you know, it's drafted by me, subject to approval, so at some point in time, I'm gonna need approval of the settlement agreement by the town council, and then I'll need you to sign it. So that's what I would recommend tonight.
Now, this is, you know, they had three concerns that they sent us a letter on, and this is one of those three concerns.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm saying, you know, I think we need to resolve the other two concerns on that particular letter. I agree that this has nothing to do with the easement. You know, they did put all three concerns on the same letter and submitted it at the same time, so.
Yeah, I just remind you that the board has taken action, including voting to pay this and to provide them a settlement agreement. So I think that it's,
And I think that
we
letter,
need to follow through that in a timely manner.
I think this is the one we did a couple of months ago.
okay,
It was about a month ago.
we
It was
discussed
at the
it.
May 28th meeting.
We discussed it and okay doing this, and Reed was just making the technical copy of it. So does anybody want to make a motion to go ahead and sign this and send it to the church?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and sign that, because we already agreed to this whole, everything in that, just verbally.
Second. I'll second.
Oh, I thought you did, sorry.
No, I made a motion.
Yeah, no.
Okay, we've got a motion to, what's this?
Approve the partial settlement agreement and release.
Okay. How do we vote on it? All in favor of it, say yes.
Just go ahead and do a roll call for me, please.
Cam?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
No.
Ron, yes. So it's 3-1 vote, Mike's absent. So Reed can go to the center.
All right. Sign it.
Then Ashley, do you want to have a conversation about the other 2 points? Do we have that? Do we know what those are? Do we remember?
Well, we can talk about now, or in the past, we've had a special meeting about these items. To answer your question, no, I did not bring my notes with me.
Well, one of the things, Tammy, was the oversizing, and I was gonna ask Reed on how's that going with the oversizing? You wanna talk about that tonight, or?
No, I mean, I've, sent you all the memo, and I think it's out of my hands at this point to take any action. I mean, what we, just to remind everyone, I think we had a vote to not pay anything on the credits, and that vote didn't pass, and so there was there's been no motion since then, and I don't know where that leaves us. I mean, it's just unresolved. I don't know if the church wants to move forward with litigation, or if the church wants to do mediation, all of which would add to legal fees. So that's really where I stand with me right now. Happy to weigh in on anything if you guys want to discuss it.
I think at that particular meeting, Tammy, Ty wanted to just research matters a little bit more. Maybe meeting should be scheduled to talk about that a little bit further, and hopefully have a vote on it.
So, would you like to set a meeting tonight, or everybody think about it? Email them to Michelle? What you thought?
Just email it to Michelle. Check this, everybody's summer plans.
Yeah. You have time to think about it.
And then, do I need to also get a hold of Dave and Bob, so to make sure that they're here too?
Once we set a date.
Is this meeting going to be to replow all the ground again, or?
I guess it would be to address the settlement with them and see if they accept it, and then,
Well, I don't think it's,
It's,
we need to have open negotiation with them. Like I said, I think the board needs to decide what they're going to do on the other two matters.
Correct.
And as far as,
But I think it's gotta be an open door.
well, yeah, I agree, it needs to be an open door, but as far as having, hours of presentations again, I mean, gee whiz, we've heard it, I don't know how many more hours you want. This is the same facts over and over, but,
Well, you're the one that wants another meeting on it, so.
yeah.
We can
So
we can get it
reiterate the points
resolved.
and go from there. How long is tomorrow night is gonna be?
probably only an hour. But I don't know if you're hitting that 40 hour.
So we'll let you know what would be a good time to have this meeting. The oversizing credits, yes, no, or whatever.
You guys
whatever.
thinking this week or next week?
Let everybody check and think about it. Okay, new and old business.
Oh, I did have one item that I emailed you guys about, so one option is just for me to attend all public meetings, like through the duration. Another is to say, I'm gonna be here from 7 until 9, and I'm gonna go home at that point, so. I'm fine either way, I just, put that in a memo, I hadn't heard from anyone specifically, so, I mean,
We just move that more important stuff to the.
I'm not going to be in a public meeting unless you're here.
I haven't thought about it. Okay, new old business, Ben, from Urban Educator of Tippecanoe County. There it is. I can't pronounce your last name, but
That is okay.
you want to introduce yourself?
I will. Thank you. I'm Ben Wegleitner. I'm from the Tippecanoe County Partnership for Water Quality. I was hired recently to be an urban or adult stakeholder educator. In the last few months, I've been starting to educate people throughout Tippecanoe County. If you're familiar with the Partnership for Water Quality, it covers Tippecanoe County, Lafayette, West Lafayette, Dayton, Battleground, Ivy Tech, and Purdue. They are all regulated under one single stormwater utility permit from IDEM and US EPA. Part of the requirement is an education component, public education. And so I was hired to work with adult stakeholders, and that includes homeowners associations, historic neighborhoods, businesses, anyone seeing that stormwater utility fee on their bill, to help them understand how their actions are impacting stormwater. So I am available to provide individual stormwater education to individual homeowners or neighborhoods or town council if that's required. So I will leave a stack of my business cards. I'm working with Mark to identify some of the more problematic areas for drainage and flooding, so that we can get out in the community and work with those homeowners to help them understand what the town of Dayton is doing to impact stormwater, and then also what they can be doing on their own properties to relieve some of those stormwater drainage issues. In the past, a lot of the processes have been a homeowner or resident will call in to the town or to the city or to the county and say, I'm having this issue. One of those entities will come out. Pretty much 9 times out of 10, the process is, well, this is a private property issue. Our responsibility ends here. There's nothing more we can do for you, and then the conversation ended there. We're hoping now the next step will be me stepping in and saying, here's things you can do on your own property to alleviate some of your issues and also take some of the stress off of the town or the city's stormwater infrastructure. So it's nice to meet you. I won't take up any more of your time, but if there are questions that need to be directed to me or areas where you see where people need education, please don't hesitate to contact me.
Do you have, handout sheets that you can leave here, so,
Yeah.
so as residents come in and visit, that
Definitely.
maybe we can
Yep.
put it
Get them
towards you,
started.
or,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that'd be great if we could get that
Yep.
information.
Yeah, we'll certainly leave some tonight, and then I'll come back and deliver some to Mark or to whoever needs them to make those available to people, yeah.
Do you, are you with Tippecanoe County?
I am a City of Lafayette employee,
Okay.
but I am required to report to all the entities. Mark is the voting member for the town of Dayton. So as a pay structure, I'm a Tippecanoe, or a City of Lafayette employee,
Okay.
but I have the ability to travel throughout the county, and so I'll be driving a Lafayette Renew, the wastewater treatment plant vehicle,
Sure,
but I am on behalf of Dayton and everyone else.
sure. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sounds like a great program.
thank you.
Okay, Mark, your report?
To what Ben was saying, in the older part of town, right here, this central part, we'll call it, with time, the streets have gotten built up, and there never was adequate, I don't think, stormwater drainage in those areas anyway, like over on Main Street right over here where homeowners have gotten hold of it. And I told Ben that, I said, we have pretty good storm drainage out in Deerfield, and even back in Crestwood, where the newer developments are. But there is a need in this, what we call the older part of town. Some of that will be addressed hopefully with the State Road 38 project, but it only reaches out into the side streets so much. But I'm thankful I have another resource to guide people to whenever they have questions about their sump pump water or the downspouts. Because a lot of times what I've found is that they may have gutters and downspouts, and they have a sump pump, but it's not getting the water far enough away from the home. And then really what they're doing is recycling the water, you know, but they have no place to put it, so they're just trying to get out of the basement. But anyway, I'll give you a copy of this here. You know, I know that one of the options that he can offer people is rain barrels and those kind of things where they actually use some of that rainwater. The first item I have is State Road 38. So on July 3rd, we had a preliminary field check meeting. Ashley and Ron both attended it. It was NDOT personnel and the engineering firm that's responsible for the section just within Dayton. They went over, pretty much it's going to mirror what you see on this section here, just continuing on. It won't have the parking lane all the way down to the cemetery, but just short of the cemetery, it'll start to narrow up again. A sidewalk will extend, I believe, all the way down to the Masonic Lodge on this side. It already extends past the cemetery on the north side. But it's some of the things that I was interested in. And Ron had asked me about if this meeting on July 3rd was a public information meeting. No, it wasn't. But they will start to hold public information meetings this winter for everybody, but specifically for those homeowners that will be affected by the widening of the road and sidewalks. One thing that I had received from actually from BFNS was an environmental report. The part that I was paying attention to was the amount of tree removal. And as you get down to the east end of town, across from the cemetery, so that would be on the Goot Line property and then on to the Masonic Lodge, there'll be a few trees taken out there. And not all of them, but there will be some taken down also where Adams Road meets 38, just so they have a clear line of sight there when they can stop at Adams Road and pull out on 38. Something else that was worth noting is that this road will be closed completely. You'll have to take a detour around town. There won't be one lane closed and then the other lane closed. It'll shut this road down completely, so it'll be a bit of an inconvenience for a while. The second part of the project, so we're primarily concerned about this section right here from Conjunction to Adams Road. The second part of the project which will be going on, I believe, at the same time, is that from that point all the way to State Road 39, that road will be rebuilt. I'm not sure exactly where State Road 39 is, but I think it's a good 10 miles out of town. It must be on the other side of Mulberry.
Yes.
Okay. So, this winter there'll be the public information meetings. Secondly, it will close down this road completely. And
The project goes out to bid in the spring of,
it says the letting is spring of 2021.
so construction will start probably in the summer or fall of 21.
They said hopefully the summer of 21, but that is best case scenario. So it could be 2022 before it gets done. Next item is, so I had mentioned at the last meeting about the fencing out at the shop and police office. So that's been repaired now. So all the concrete valves have been put in, the fence has been repaired for hopefully the third or fourth and final time. And we're still awaiting a bill from this for fencing, I believe. And once we get that paid, we'll forward it on to the Circle K will reimburse us for that. Prairie Lane Lift Station, one of the hour meters, quit working on that. The pump's running fine, and actually on the electronic report I get every morning, it shows it's running, and I've checked it myself, it's just that the mechanical hour meter went out. So I ordered one and I'll replace that here shortly. This next item, so I mentioned at the last board meeting about this company wanting to come in and do locates for the water, sewer, and stormwater for the town. And I don't know if it was Ty or Ashley said, well, just get a price from them anyway. And I did, so it's $21. That's to mark the water, sewer, and stormwater lines. That's per address. I thought it was a little high, in all honesty, I was thinking more about, I mean, they're there to mark the veteran gas line and the power line and other stuff too, so I thought maybe it was part of the package deal, but it wasn't. But there next to it, there's actually a training for locating lines in Chalmers, and I looked that up, it's not too far away from here. And I'm gonna go to on August 29th, just so I can gain some confidence in locating these lines, because that's the biggest concern, is that whenever I mark these lines, I've then put some liability or responsibility on myself and the town saying, hey, this is where it's at. So, if they hit it and it's 10 feet over there, that's my mistake, So I want some training on that would be helpful. The stormwater ditch, I don't know if you've been out there, but it's 95% complete now. They just have some minor cleanup to do out there, just some piles of brush and a tree that needs cut up that they had taken out, so I think it's a big improvement.
Have you talked to them about the hillside
Yes.
next to Alice's?
Yes.
Yeah, followed up the other day, are they gonna put riprap in
There's
that-
riprap
in it underneath all that junk and everything?
Well, that's what the idea will be, to clean all that. And they've cut it off, the brush, but it all needs sprayed and killed off so you can actually see the riprap shoot that's actually
Yeah.
killed.
And then what about the big tree stump that's there?
I hate to have, there's several, there's like 3 or 4 stumps. If we pull those out of there, it's such a steep bank, it's gonna destabilize that bank. They're gonna clean it up down there. I'm gonna spray that area that we're talking about and get everything killed off, and just to get it cleaned up, and then, if we do, that contract will be over, we'll be up there. But right now, my opinion is, I don't wanna pull those stumps out.
Yeah, that's okay, but are they going, around the stumps on the steep part of the hill, are they gonna fix that? Level it and seed it?
Yeah.
The riprap comes from her fence over about 5 foot.
Yeah.
Then there's a stump at the base of that, then the rest of it is just hillside. Yeah, but there's dirt at some point that goes on.
Well, I tell you what, if you could meet me down there sometime, I'd
Yeah,
like to take a
because I was
look.
up there the other day talking to her, and then at the north end of her fence, down the hill, that 6 foot wide, what are they gonna do, that strip along there? Are they gonna do something to
They're
that?
gonna clean it up, we
Okay.
talked about, they're gonna clean that up better too.
Because she wants to mow it and everything, but you gotta have it covered.
She could probably mow that when it's dry, but that's,
That strip's awful rough, I mean,
yes. Yeah, they talked to them about knocking it down, breaking it down, so.
but I'll meet you then. Yeah.
Sure. The last item is just, Wednesday, so I'll leave Wednesday, and I'll be back next Tuesday, so from the 10th to the 15th, Wednesday through Monday, I'll be out there.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Did you get, is Brent gonna come and cover for you?
No, I asked him to, but he's asked, they're having to shut down or something, or we were shut down, and he's being unable to. So I've asked Steve, who's making curbs for
Oh, he
us.
can do it, okay.
He would, the way it reads is, a person of responsible charge. It doesn't say a licensed person that can do it.
Because you're the master, the.
The licensed
Yeah,
operator in
it's assigned
charge,
to you.
so.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll be doing it under my license. but-
I did that some year and a half ago or so before Arkansas.
And all I've asked to do, IBM requires that the water be tested at the point of entry and at a distribution point for the chlorine level. That's supposed to be done each day. I just asked them to do that. I haven't asked them to check the lift stations or anything like that. It seems to be reported every morning, so if there's something wrong, that lets me know or something. So we're just covering the IBM required stuff on that.
Oh, on vacation.
Anything else?
Thank you. Comments from any of the residents on utilities? Okay. Reports of the council members. Anna?
Ashley, did you have a chance to check that retention pond out there where that semi backed down in?
No.
I just wondered, do you know who's responsible for correcting it, or is it just something we need to go out there and dig dirt and?
No, that's actually the Dollar General. And I saw the semi back down in there that morning.
Right.
But no, that's their responsibility.
It'll be theirs. Is it anything we need to talk to them about, or just let it go and fill itself in, or?
No, I'll call them about it. I assume that the store manager let him know about it, the guy who owns it, but I don't know, but I'll make sure he's aware of it.
Anything else? Terry? I got one question. Michelle, we've been getting a lot of bills from BF&S and Reed and stuff that have to do with, I guess bring it up on this one, the utilities, that have to do with the development out here.
Yeah, I'm gonna, after these 2 meetings, I'm gonna go through all of the stuff to make sure that we're up to date of what the housing addition, what we've paid BF&S, and what they've paid us, to see if I need to bill them for any more in the same, because I think Dollar General is one that I've had to bill them, or, for reimbursement, so I'll work on that this week, and then I'll
Is that for
let
both?
you guys.
That's for both BF&S, engineers, and legal, right, lawyers?
Well, yeah, that's what we need to ask Reed. So are we supposed, like, the work that you do regarding the housing addition, any of that, is that part of the, like, when they pay us, that the housing addition pays
I think in
$5,000?
our development guide, it's part,
Like, does that
all
go
of,
towards
like
that money?
McAllister and Dollar General, they all had to pay the fees that went with their section.
The way,
I'd have to look into it, I'm not familiar.
the way it worked with Dollar General is they paid the user fee.
Yeah.
But then, in addition to that, they had to pay any stormwater, that kind, and it kind of drug out there because they wanted to get in the store so quick, they didn't do everything just right. So they ended up, any bill we got from BF&S, Michelle, and they were aware of it. Dollar General said, we're kind of costing ourselves money because every time you see what I'm saying? So they're two separate things in a sense as far as.
All I want to be sure is there's quite a few bills from BF&S and the lawyers that they're responsible for both of them. But Reed can check it.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
That's all I've got.
I'll look in the development guide too and see what it says.
Make a motion, we adjourn Service Utility Board.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Dayton Town Board is now in session. Roll call everyone except for Mike is here. Would like to ask for approval for the Town Board minutes, June 10th, 2019.
Make a motion, we approve the town board minutes of June 10th, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Motion carries. Approval of the claims. I'd like to get approval for the claims docket for July 8th, 2019.
Make a motion, we approve the claims docket, July 8th, 2019.
Second.
There's been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Allowance docket, any questions on June June's allowance docket.
Make a motion, we approve the allowance docket of June 1st through June 30th, 2019.
Second.
There's been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the revenue report, 6/30/2019.
Make a motion, we approve revenue report of June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of the appropriations report for June 30th, 2019.
Is that one we just approved?
No, we just did the
Revenue.
revenue.
Sorry. I make a motion, we approve the appropriations report of June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, bank reconciliation, May 2019, June 2019.
Make a motion, we approve bank reconciliation report for May 2019 and June 2019.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Clerk treasurer report, additional appropriations resolution 2019-6.
Yeah, that's the, when Retha came and did her report, we talked about that. So there's numerous, funds that we don't have in our budget. So I did the appropriation, I put it in the paper, it had to be in there for 10 days, so it's been in there. So I've got that paperwork back, so now it's just the approval of the additional appropriation. So what we put in, for rainy day, we put in 20,000 for the appropriation. Not that we need it, but it's there for emergency. I don't think we've used rainy day in a long time, but it needs to be in there just for an emergency. We asked for local law enforcement education. We have the cash in there to do it, but it's not budgeted. So every time that we've sent our officers to education, it's not, so it's showing negative because it's not in our budget. So we just did the 2,500 on that. And the local road and bridge, we did 250,000 because that's what we figured that we kind of calculated that we needed for the CCG grant, and to put, because again, it wasn't budgeted. So I just asked for the approval to pass that so that we can send that off to DLGF. And then I think Ron has the original, because each of you will actually have to sign whether you're on your vote yes or no.
I make a motion, we approve additional appropriations resolution 2019-6.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so my next thing, so Retha, I've called her, so I've talked to you guys about how all of the bank reconciliations from July of 2018 to December of 2018 were off balance. And I talked to Todd Caldwell and he told me not to do anything, to continue letting the bank, because it's rolling over into this year, and to continue letting the bank recs be off balance until they come in and figure out what happened last year. They're still continuing, and it's something internally, and it must be in fund because our bank account is higher than what our fund account is. So I know Retha said it would have cost us a lot of money for her to go through all of last year. So I did talk to her. I don't feel comfortable with continuing because if we don't get an audit until September, October, I don't feel comfortable with this year continuing to be. So she said it takes about an hour to go through each month. So I wanted to ask for the board's approval to work with Retha to figure out what's going on internally. Because my bank recs are matching, my bank statements, the fund reports are all matching. Everything matches up, everything is canceling each other out, but there's something internally that's causing it still to be a different amount than what it was last year. So I was just asking the board's approval for me to work with Retha and send her those reports so then she can figure out what is going on internally, so that we can at least get that on track.
So how many hours?
I think she charges like $50 an hour, And she said it would only take her probably about an hour for each month. January flowed with December, so it would be just February, March, April, May, and then the June that we just had. So I mean, it could be something where she finds it in February and, you know, but like I said, everything's matching, so it makes no sense. You
So
can't see it with the naked eye,
Up to 500 or 600,
possibly,
possibly.
yeah.
Maybe less.
Yeah, but she said it shouldn't take more, and they're not large amounts. So like I said, everything's matching, but she does some kind of process.
You need to do it.
Yeah, and I would just feel more comfortable, in at least getting that, say Board of Accounts will handle the last year's, but just to get that figured out.
I'll make a motion that we hire Rita for that, with the dollar limit up to 600, not to exceed.
Okay, yeah.
Second.
Okay, motion made, properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so the next thing is, so we talked at May's meeting, I believe, about the cameras and streaming and audio and all of that because it's so hard to hear, especially on videos and recordings. So the first quote that you guys have, it's like with the blue lines. This is actually for security cameras because if you remember, I believe it's this one right here. Nope, this one. That's the very first one. So you guys approved at, again, I think it was the May's meeting, to get a fourth camera over here because this was a blind spot. So you can see it still has plastic on it. It's not working because they wired it. It's not connecting correct with our system that we have in there. Now, so they've had to replace that hall one, and then they were doing this one. Well, now the one in the office is going out, and they said it will be a very short time before that one starts going out. The security system that we have in there right now is like the lowest possible that in, I want to say it's 7 years or older. So these are the quotes strictly for the security system. Because it is going out, there's no point of keeping, they were in here for hours. I think they spent like 6 hours in here trying to get that camera to work and they couldn't. Everything was testing fine, but they cannot get the cameras, because they don't sell the cameras that go with our system anymore. So here is 4 different quotes. The top one, that is $1,155. That is the 5 megapixel one. He said, Mike, the guy from Mulberry, he said that all of them are pretty much kind of around the same. This one does offer the better view if I have to go back and look. We can have up to 8 cameras on this. So it could give us possibilities to place other places if we need to. It's only a little bit over $100 difference from the cheapest one, and that's a 2 megapixel. The most expensive one, which is the 1,262, he said that that's just a commercial grade one. He said it's all about the different brands. So his suggestion is the top one, the 1,155. Instead of constantly having to keep replacing the cameras, we'll have a better, I think he said the video that we have in there right now is digital, and then with these, it'll be clearer pictures and all of that. So if you guys want to go ahead, like I said, so they're not gonna charge us for that 4th camera. They've not charged us unless you guys want them to somehow figure out how to get it to work. But they're all going out. So if you guys wanna go ahead and do the security system and go ahead and upgrade that, he said that we shouldn't have to worry about that for quite some time. So I will leave that in your guys' hands, but Mike suggested the top one.
I make a motion, we approve the 1155 for the video system.
Second.
There's been a motion made, properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so the next topic that Ashley asked me to do talked about the audio and looking into live streaming. So I've worked over the past month and a half getting different quotes. So we have a quote here from Pro Audio, Sound Advice, and Mulberry. So first, let's hit with the audio. So Pro Audio, for them to provide one new amplifier, 5 wired goosenecks microphones for the desks up here, 1 wireless for the podium, and then also 4 in-ceiling speakers. So they would be like these in like dome lights, but they would be in the ceiling rather than having these, because then they would come straight down. So we would do like either 1 over there, 1 here, and 2 back here, or figure out how, instead of having those speakers, but they said that the sound would be a lot better. So that price for them is $4,590. For Sound Advice, they're offering pretty much exactly the same stuff. They do offer, I think this is the, oh, they offer an audio output and actually 1 more microphone. And theirs is $8,263.42, which I think for a $3,600 difference for 2 things, a microphone and an audio output, is obviously out of the question. And then Mulberry, they simply quoted us for the mics, nothing more, and that was up to 8 mics of the gooseneck ones, and that was $2,039. That, even if we get microphones, that's not helping us with the sound. So my suggestion is to go with Pro Audio so that we can get that. On the second page of Sound Advice, they did give us a quote to do live streaming, so it would give us the camera and the capability to do that. Just for the live streaming, it's $2,500. Then we would have to get a company that we would have the live streaming on our website. Personally, I do not recommend live streaming. We're a small town. I don't think we need it. My suggestion is I do feel like we need to have the videos on our website. We have an iPad that is connected to our Verizon plan. Tammy, our utility clerk, has graciously offered. All we would have to do is buy a tripod, and she would come in here in the meetings and record them for us, and then we can upload them on our website the next day. I don't think we should spend an extra $2,500 just to have live stream when we can upload it the next day. I don't feel like enough people watch the live stream for the town to spend that extra money, and when we already have the capability to do it, and if we get the new sound with the speakers coming down, the goosenecks up there, I think we would be,
I agree.
I think we would be set.
You could start with that and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could also go one step further and have all of our agendas and board packets online, accessible to general public and stuff. There are hosting companies that do that kind of stuff. I run into a lot in my real job with dealing with school boards. And everything's electronically on the website. Anybody can access it. It also bookmarks different sections, so if you want to search for a particular issue or whatever, you can use a search engine, and the audio's there, sometimes video's there. Not everybody does video. We need to invest in technology. We need to do it in a smart way where everything works together. We don't want to invest in a camera system that won't work with something else, or audio that won't work with something else.
I mean, just for being a small town, I don't feel like we need to go, so we're working on putting the minutes on the website, but right now our main focus has been getting ready for an audit. We have 4 years worth of shelves in there that are not organized. So since I've been in here, that's all we've spent organizing. If people want the minutes, I had somebody ask me today, they got their minutes in 5 minutes. Sorry, that kind of ran together. But I mean, for us to be able to put the video on there the next day, it would be no different than me. I could upload the agenda on our website so that people could see what we're talking about before the meeting, saying, hey, maybe I should be present for this meeting. Stuff like that. I don't feel like we need to go out to hire another outside entity to host and to be able to search. We don't have that many, we have one monthly meeting. That's my opinion.
I'm not particularly looking for the live stream portion of it, but
Yeah.
having the electronic accessibility to documents and stuff, I find
Yeah,
Very,
and we're-
very useful, and I
yeah.
think a lot of residents would find it extremely useful.
Yeah, I think that that's extremely easy to upload that, and like I said, we can put the agendas on there when we send it.
Cindy to speak there, Tara.
do it.
Yeah.
Cindy Marsh, 749 Shady Lane. If you want to have it on your website, and I think that'd be a good idea, I'd be happy to get you a copy of the video that I do. And if you want to live stream it, I'd be happy to run your iPad too, since I'm doing it already. The only thing that might concern me is with the Wi-Fi. Do we have, what's our Wi-Fi speed here? Do you have any?
I don't think it's very good. I know the iPad that we have is like, has the internet on it, so it's like
Yeah.
connected to our phone bill.
Well, I meant our internet speed, because I think
Yeah, I don't-
Mulberry has fiber going down 38 now, I'm pretty sure.
They haven't got it here yet, because that's one of the things that they talked about,
Oh,
because they
okay.
said that once they're able to put the fiber in, then our speeds would be higher, or
Okay.
faster.
I guess we would have to try doing 2 devices at once to see if we ran into issues, but if you want to try it anytime, if you want to get the, I mean, I can tell you what to get for tripod and the bracket. You need the bracket to hold the iPad.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, I was just
happy to
thinking
do it.
recording it, and then just, since you already live stream it,
Yeah.
I was thinking about just recording it and then uploading it on our,
Okay,
on our
well, I'd be
website.
happy to get you a copy
Okay.
of the one that I do then.
Okay,
The-
thank you.
Why can't
No
it be
problem.
recorded off of a camera system?
Because they don't have audio, and they said it's not safe to mix the two. Like, that's why they said, not, to do live streaming, you'd have to have a whole other camera system because it's a security. You don't want people to be able to have access.
Maybe not necessarily live streaming, but as far as a recorded document.
Well, our cameras they don't provide audio. So it would be probably hard to record and then match up the video together because these security cameras they don't have audio. So they don't record sound, just the picture.
Yeah, if you're gonna do one that's not live, you could just run wires into our soundboard and you could pick up everything on the microphone like perfectly.
Well, I know-
Switch back to that.
I know Sound Advice, one of their things, they said that there's like an adapter just to plug into this, that's the audio input, like to help pick up and the recording easier. That's why I don't understand why their price is $3,600 more for that and one microphone extra. But that was just I just figured instead of we already have it, try it
So
rather than.
if we were to do this pro audio deal,
Mhm.
what would they do with the current speakers? Would we still use those?
No, I think they would completely get rid of them. They would just be the ceiling. So there would be
Oh,
one
they would
above
just
us.
be the
Yeah, so it would be like how those
little
lights are in
flat
there.
circle things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Recess.
They're like, yeah, they're in there. So I think they said one over here, and 2 back here. Or however, but then it would come straight down. It'd be a wireless one on that one, and then we would have the 5 gooseneck ones up here. And then also a new amplifier.
Do we know how, you always look at best practices, okay? Do we know how, Tiffany, Lafayette, and some of these other surrounding communities, the systems that they use and
Sound Advice is the people who do APCs. So I told them that we wanted kind of a quote off of kind of like what they do. And obviously, I would not advise spending $8,200 on. Like I said, we're a small town. We have one meeting a month unless it's, so we really just need for people to be able to hear better, a microphone at the podium. And I think the speakers, I think that would.
I took a
So you're-
picture of the aerial plan microphone and sent it to them when they start getting close and say, look at that same one, they're kind of like a.
Yeah, it's the gooseneck, yeah.
So
So they won't be
it's the same-
bulgy.
should be same brand.
kind of out of the way, so you got some table space.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't have these bulky things. They'll be screwed in there.
So you want to do the pro audio thing to get the sound system better with the microphones?
Yeah, because the only difference really between Pro Audio and Sound Advice is that Sound Advice gives you one more microphone and the audio, and it's a $3,600 difference. I just don't think that, and then Mulberry only gave me the quote for microphones. They didn't give us a quote for the speakers or the amplifier.
So to help recoup some of the cost, we could sell our previous equipment, because I mean, it's still fine, it's just not set up for the two.
Yeah, how do
Does that
we
mean that-
do that? Just
Works.
advertise
That's
it?
a pretty nice amp, I mean, you could probably get.
Some of this
and
equipment-
Yeah, you could sell all this.
Just make a motion to sell it, and you sell however you want.
Okay, interesting that.
Some of this equipment was donated, didn't we, now? We probably ought to give that donor a chance to
Yeah.
recover his donations.
I didn't know if we were just gonna get rid of it and toss it, you'd probably.
Yeah, I mean, if
say
we
at
can
least 700 to
recuperate some of
1,000
it.
with all the mics and that.
Yeah, get something out of it.
So I figure, if we get them in and then at the August meeting, try the recording and see how the sound works, especially with everything. But I just don't feel like why paying extra for that whole another camera system and paying a monthly fee
So
and,
I'll make a motion for Pro Audio for the system here, $4,590. You've got it estimated. We've needed it for a long time. And then we go from there.
I do have a question though, do we have like money in the budget in the, building maintenance for this? Or
so
where
it
this
should
money
be I should be able to split it in thirds,
Yeah,
between
enough
the
to
utilities.
cover that.
Yeah, because it's the utility load. Yeah.
I second that. So there's been a motion made, properly seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Motion carries.
The next thing is I just need the approval of, so last month, since I had Tammy fill in for me, I didn't, put in Reed's May usage. So we have May's usage in the amount of $2,680, and then we have June's usage in the amount of $1,320, and then also we have Reed's third quarter installment payment of $3,125. So the total of these three is $7,125. Just to keep everybody up to date with these and what we've already paid Reed for the year. That puts us at $18,365, so we are $6,600 away from our $25,000 salary ordinance.
18,000 what?
With these invoices, it puts us at $18,365.
How many paralegal hours do we have left?
I think it's 21. We have 21.6 paralegal hours remaining. So what do you typically use the paralegal hours for? Or now that you have a paralegal, are you having her do stuff?
Yeah, so
Or like what is stuff?
right now, it's just been, you've been getting legal work for paralegal rate that I don't bill you at. So that's the best for the town, but better for me is to actually just have Gabby do that work. So she helped me out with the noise ordinance, for example, but it kind of depends, and she'll be able to handle some phone calls and emails or the big things you could send to her, but that'll take some time, but, I'll make sure that by the end of the year, like, the town gets their benefit out of those paralegal hours.
No, I just need a motion to go ahead and pay those 2 monthly.
I make a motion to go ahead and pay the 2 monthly and the third quarterly payment.
Second.
There's been a motion made, properly seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
All right.
Motion carries.
And then the next one is a Mark Jones invoice for $200. Apparently, I think this was when Mark's printer was down. He had to remote in to get it fixed and then install some updates on the computers. So I just asked for a motion to pay that $200 invoice to Alpha Business for Mark Jones.
Make a motion, we pay the invoice to Alpha Business Technologies.
Second.
Been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Motion carries.
And the only other thing is, so like we were talking about, so we're working on getting the minutes and the calendars and stuff uploaded onto the website. But like I said, we're trying, because we never know when State Board of Accounts is gonna walk in, so I'm trying to kind of put that first so that it's organized, so when they come in and ask for something, we know where it's at. But once that gets more settled, then we will finish working on getting the minutes, and then we'll start doing the videos on there too. But yeah.
Did you guys, Tim, you and I went upstairs, was looking for something, did you ever find that? 'Cause
I haven't found it yet, that half a year that I was missing.
I think utility clerk Tammy, I think she ended up finding some of them. I mean,
It was the receipts that were,
we, on the top shelf in the 15s, we have 12s and 13 invoices. And it's missing APVs from a bunch of 15s, so. And then we found out trying to reprint APVs, you can't reprint APVs, so.
Cause you're gonna need all that for the audit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why, those have been our main focus.
I
Trying to find
tried, it just
everything.
won't let us.
Yeah, so we're working on it. But other than that, I think that's it for me.
Okay. Town attorney.
Yeah, so last time we approved the settlement agreement for Tiger versus Dayton, and the only, I think, item that we hadn't completed was updating the town code. So we have received our S6 supplement from American Legal Publishing. That does have the required correction, and I think all that we need to do is get on the website and
Yep.
check.
We'll get that, and I actually just received the hard copy today,
Okay.
so that probably should be on there by the end of the week.
I should take care of that. Next item is the TIP district. We are ready to move forward with the fee agreement. Bryce Miller, we already discussed that and have approval from the town council. I just haven't submitted it yet because we're kind of in a holding pattern until we appoint or select the 5 members for the redevelopment commission. So that's kind of where things are on that.
So we've approved Vice Miller.
Approved Dice Miller.
I spoke to Jason at, it's not on ball,
Baker Tilly.
Baker Tilly, and he said town board president has 3, town board takes 2. We just appoint them. I have sent out emails to every board member giving names. I've had multiple names on some of the emails. But as for, I'm not sure how we do it, how we appoint them. Would we just appoint them, or does people come here for a vote, or, that was a question that was never answered when I called to ask them about that.
Well, if we got common names, why can't we just appoint them?
The town council will need to appoint them like at a vote at a regular meeting.
Yeah, but what about the ones that the president does, since it's not a vote, it's just,
I think that it's the same thing, it just needs to be done at the meeting. I mean, not as far as approving them, but yeah, I mean, they are just an appointment.
Can we appoint them to the right under old new business, or?
how did we proceed?
Yeah, I think at any time.
I mean, I guess, we don't need a special meeting to do
Correct.
that, correct?
Correct. Yeah, all you would need is a motion, and, I mean, the only, I guess, question that I would have is whether it's on the agenda or not, but other than that, free to do it
ones the council does or the ones that?
For the ones that the council does, yes.
Probably not the ones that I do.
You know,
Do you do them separately, or do everybody at once, or how does that work?
could we maybe have a list of them so we can look at them, have a few minutes to decide or something, or do it at the next meeting, once we have the list?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
So maybe Tyree, you could send out a list to everybody, and we can bring it up the next meeting.
Yeah, we'll just probably just do a special meeting, you know, 5 minute special meeting. Let's just go through.
Yeah, I'll check, because even though your appointments might be subject to the actual approval of
Yeah.
the town council.
Because that was the question I was asking them, and they said, no, you just appoint them. I said, well, how does that work when, if it's just me appointing three, I don't have, I'm not voting. I'm just saying these are three people, but the town board, they have to vote on those two, because, it's,
I think
how do they come with the, common?
Typically, there's a difference between selection and confirmation or appointment. We'll have to look at that. So I think it'd be best just to hold on for another month before next week, get it all in line.
Well, instead of holding off for a month, maybe when we do one of these meetings for a church or something, maybe make that
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
All right, so since we're moving forward with that, I'll go ahead and just return the fee agreement by Miller. So they have that in their file.
Do we have to make a motion on that, or do you just?
We already did.
Okay, so it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just, they just have it for my approval as the attorney.
So that's spending up to 15,000 extra.
Correct.
That's above Umball Associates of their 15,000.
Correct.
So now we're 30,000 plus whatever monies you have to come in. And I called Umball and asked him why we had that special meeting to come up with all the costs. And they didn't say a word about Ice Miller or all the legal costs. And then Umball told me on the phone, he said, well, I didn't say anything about the extra costs because I was only talking about our costs. Well, to me, all of a sudden, the town now is footing a bill. We had that meeting to decide if we want to do a TIF. I'm for a TIF district and everything, but I think we ought to have all the costs up front because now it's going to turn from 15 maybe to 30 at least. It'll probably be up to 50 before we know it. So it
Right,
seems
so-
a little unfair to have a meeting and them not explain the costs.
I was here when Jason was talking about that, and Jason pointed out that other than Baker Tilly's costs, that there would be legal work that needed to be done, and, obviously, Reed was here, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't know the extent of the legal work, but, at some point in time, we decided rather than Reed doing that legal work, that we'd have Ice Miller do that legal work.
Well, that's fine, but I think when it doubles or more than doubles the cost of something.
You're
I-
gonna
excuse
pay
me.
Reed,
Okay.
and you're gonna pay Ice
Wait, let's
Miller.
just stop, excuse me a minute, I think if we're gonna double the cost of something, it ought to be at a meeting that we call specifically to tell those costs, and the costs aren't brought out. I think it's a little unfair to the citizens, the taxpayers, and the other board
When the
members.
gentleman's standing there, and he's telling you that there's gonna be legal work that needs to be done, you have to attach a dollar sign to that.
Well, maybe we should have
And
said.
and that dollar is either paying Reed to do it, or to pay Ice Miller, or some other legal firm to do it.
I do think that one thing that was discussed is that part of the process includes several public meetings. And so, I think it was not directly spoken, but assumed that those were going to have additional costs. And, that's either going to be me or another attorney. And what we talked about is that unless you ask Ice Miller to have someone there, that's not necessarily going to have that additional cost at that meeting. But, you know that when we have those things, the cost significantly increases. I mean, we had 7 public meetings in January, and I had 37 hours, and it was a lot of time.
Yeah.
So,
I agree, Reed, but what I'm saying is we had a meeting to tell what the total cost of this project would be, and I think either Umball or you ought to say, now it's gonna be another 10, 15, 20, what if it was 50 more thousand? At some point, do you think that somebody ought to say what the extra costs are? I asked Umball the other day, is there gonna be any other costs? He said, well, you'll have some.
So,
You know, I mean, it'd be nice, that's why we were having the meeting to decide whether we want to go ahead with it.
the last 3 meetings, we've discussed that the total between all 3 of us would be between 25 to 30,000. That's, you know, that remains constant, and that's what I expect. Ice Miller, I don't think unless they were here at every public meeting would need to be 15,000. So I'm thinking that they will be about 10 plus 5 for me or less. So that's what I'm putting at, 25 to 30, and
Well, that's good if it stays at that, but you never know unless you ask.
right. I agree that it wasn't addressed at that initial meeting, and Jason only spoke to his cost of 15.
Yeah, I think it was unfair to him because we were asking him to present all the costs. So
But he did present the fact that there has to be legal work done. It is either
Okay, well,
done by
actually-
Reed or it's done by.
you go out and get bids on stuff, and when they tell you there's gonna be a cost, and you don't ask the cost, or they don't tell you the cost, I think something's wrong, we're doing something wrong. We need to, I guess I'll ask the exact cost after this.
But
It's our taxpayers paying for all
The
this.
thing is, Ron, it's like this, we don't know how much our attorney fees are gonna be each year. We started out thinking that we'd be 12,000. We get sued by the town, he has to, or we get sued, that's the thing, if the thing going on with easements, we have to pay more, you know? So I understand that he didn't say, here's the specific amount, he did say there will be legal charges. Ice Miller was brought aboard by email, or, it was either email or in a meeting by Reed, who said he went to school with the person who runs this is what they specialize in. They'd be better for us because they wouldn't have to research so much, so that's why we decided to go with Ice Miller. I mean, you know, we knew there's gonna be some legal fees, 10 to 15 is not fun to pay, nobody wants to pay that,
Yeah,
but.
some legal
But
fees.
it just happens, you know, I mean.
Well, it doesn't just happen, it's the difference between 2,000 or 3,000, Tyrone, or 15 or so, or what if it was 35 or 45? I'm saying we maybe ought to do our job a little better, all of us, me including, and ask more what the costs are gonna be. I just think you can't just, all of a sudden, that second thing of 15 was quite a shock, to me anyway, maybe not to you guys, but 15's a lot of money to me, so.
It is a
The
lot of
other
money,
part of it
but
is, I've already acknowledged that I initially thought that I was gonna be able to do it without outside counsel, and I was wrong, and so, you know, I came back and explained that. But the other part of the reasoning is that we are looking at doing this road, which might require a bond, and so to invest in, it's bond counsel now can save us some now, and, you know, it's not a choice, I mean, it's just, you know, when I look into it, and what other similar towns would do, you know, they would use someone with bond counsel, and that, you know, goes to an indie firm, and the costs are, you know, much higher, and so.
and Ice Miller they have people that specialize in this very thing.
Right.
Nothing against you, but you're probably not a specialist in setting up TIF districts.
Right.
That's okay, we just had the meeting on all costs, but can a person talk out here?
No, I don't have anything else.
Tyrone, or somebody in the
We'll do
audience?
everything if the comments are ready, so we're just gonna.
Okay.
Comments from, also, Marsh Taylor.
Any questions on activity report for June? Body cameras are installed, software is in, and everything is working fine. So,
No hiccups in them?
well, there were some hiccups. Anytime you're dealing with software and computers, there are hiccups.
You just make it sound so simple.
Well, I don't want to take up your whole night with explaining the
Okay.
intricacies of the installation process. It wasn't quite as easy, or I'd like to see it done like a month ago, but we had to work through some things and work with Sheriff's Department's timeline on IT issues. But they're going now. Next item I had, I wanted to speak a little bit of fines and collections. In order to better align our procedures with town ordinances. The clerk's office will now be handling fines and collections instead of me doing collections. This will free up some administrative time for me, and I think it would be good to have some separation. It's not good for me to be issuing the tickets plus be the one out there trying to collect the fines also, so clerk's office is gonna take care of that from this point forward. Next item I had, I wanted to create a kind of a document or guidelines for not only my office, but the county general and the clerk's office for residents to have a place to go to figure out how to lodge complaints and disputes on any issue in regards to the police department. So I've went through and listed some of the commonly, I guess, things that might be disputed or complained about. And what I want to do is post those on the website and then up here at the town hall. Before I do that though, because I make reference to several town ordinances in this document or this guide, I would like our council to review that just to make sure that I'm correct in how I have worded some of these things. And basically I've broken it down. For instance, we have two types of ordinances that we routinely enforce. You have those that say the garbage ordinance, where we can issue a fine, and if someone wants to dispute that garbage ordinance, how do I do that? Well, they have to tell the clerk that we deny that allegation, and then at that point she would turn it over to our attorney, who would then set up a time in court for them to appear and dispute that before a judge. So that's one type of procedure. And we're kind of, I think a lot of people have a misconception that I can appeal anything that the police department does to the town council, and that's not really the case. We really only have one type of ordinance that can be directly appealed to the town council, and that's our nuisance property ordinance, where the grass, lawns, and things like that. And that if a person wants to appeal either a ticket that I've issued under, or the town of Dayton has issued under that ordinance for grass, weeds, nuisance growth, within 48 hours you can notify the clerk that you want to appeal that notification, and then she can inform that person of a time, probably the closest town council meeting to that, where they can present their side directly to the town council. Town council can look at that evidence, look at my evidence, and decide whether to confirm or agree with that person or work out some kind of a deal. So those are basically the two processes that we have. We generally refer to and cite under Indiana code for 99% of all of our traffic violations, so that takes the local town out of that dispute process, where we write under state statute, those get filed directly with the clerk's office in town at the courthouse, and if they choose to fight those, they appeal, they go to court, the prosecutor takes care of that, summons us to court. So those are the two types of ordinance, complaint or dispute things that we would have to deal with. I went on to specify what a resident could do if they wanted to, if they just had a general complaint about an ordinance, whether they had a general complaint about the police department or some kind of procedure that we would do, what would be their options for that, and then on down to if they had a specific complaint about an officer or myself, what the procedures would be to lodge that complaint, what their options are. So I've referenced some Indiana code in here, part of public, or open door laws, and speaking about specific employees. So, just for example, if someone wanted to complain about one of my officers, they couldn't come to a council meeting and say, that officer acted unprofessional and needs to be disciplined. That's, employee issues can't be discussed at open meetings, that can only be done in executive session. And obviously, an investigation will need to be done into that situation. So, not everybody realizes that, and that might save a resident some time. They ask to be put on the agenda, and we've had this happen in the past, where a resident comes in here and says, well, officer such and such is unprofessional, and I want you guys to do something about it. Well, it can't really be discussed, and they should be referred back to either me or the town council for investigation. So, that is what I put together, just kind of a rough draft, but I would like Mr. Muddall to look that over to make sure that it looks okay to him. I need your authorization to let him do that if that's okay. I don't know if we need a motion or not, he just nodded to him, tell him it's okay.
Make a motion that our attorney looks over the complaint and dispute procedures.
Second.
There's been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Along those same lines, I do have a question. In my past work experience with other departments, I've been able to, or as a chief, I've been able to have direct access to our town attorney to kind of iron out some of these issues before I present them with you, without having to kind of go through this awkward procedure here. And I guess I don't know what the town's feelings for that, with having me be able to go directly to the town attorney and say, hey, could you look into this? Because I assume that's something that could be billable hours or something, so I know things are kind of tight with the fees that we're doing, but I wanted to throw that out there to you and get your feedback, to continue on just how I just did this procedure right here, or can I be allowed to approach our attorney with questions on issues that I might have?
I think you ought to be able to go to the attorney and ask the questions.
I support that 100%.
Are you okay with doing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and allow Marshall Taylor to contact the attorney directly for
Second.
There's been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Last thing we had, Mr. Marshall went through our noise ordinance and reconfigured that, put it in the correct legal ease. And I looked it over and it looks fine to me.
Make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2019-7.
Second.
There's been a motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, will these ordinances now? When will that take effect?
Is that one of the ones that I have to run in the paper before it does?
Probably,
Yeah.
Like the street signs did?
probably a couple weeks.
So probably August 1st-ish.
Right.
Be like advertising like we did for stop signs and such. I can't remember that correctly.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Several people, a couple people asked me about, and this is for the board also. We have 3 gas stations up there and a Dollar General. And we've got a golf cart ordinance that lets them drive golf carts around. But to get the golf carts from here up to those businesses, and there'll be more businesses later, people are really asking about, can we have, how does the golf carts get up there? Can we have a trail? I started to contact owners along the railroad to put a trail at the end of all the property, straight up to Dollar General, and you could get permission from that. Or, I was thinking too, you got two sidewalks. Can one sidewalk be for residents and one for golf carts? Or what, it'd be, everybody needs to discuss it at some time. Because there's gonna be more businesses up there, and how that, we got, because 38 is narrowed down to nothing. You don't have that little lane on the side that you can drive them up there. People take mowers, they do everything on there. What's everybody's thoughts?
Personally, I don't have a problem with it, but I think, obviously, the laws we're gonna have to look at, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking the sidewalk and state right of way, the state may have some say in what can be done along that area. But I do know that as far as off-road vehicles and ATVs, there's places where state authorizes vehicles to use the right-of-ways alongside state highways.
Maybe we can
So,
check, maybe there's
I
something to
think
let them use it.
That would be something that would have to be looked into, and Mark might do some NDOT, his connection with NDOT to find out if there's anything that.
So you want to know if it's legal or not, is that what you're?
Well, several people have asked me that they would like to be able to, besides walk, it's a long haul to walk up to his gas station, Dollar General now, and so you have some other businesses. Could somehow they take a golf cart
On the
up
side.
there on the
Can the
sidewalk?
town authorize, if
Author-
they choose to by passing an ordinance or whatever,
Yeah.
the use of one of those for a trail? I would say they're probably not wide enough in their current state.
Well, even if we had to adapt them, or with a better, another solution, get permission and have a trail like along the railroad, one straight up there.
Does the railroad have like a utility easement that's kind of a designated
They have them that
to
come back.
fix the stuff that's already there?
Probably.
I mean, when they have to fix them, they probably have to have some kind of thing to drive trucks, whatever. they
Well,
do back there.
when they get,
There's not much on this side of the road,
No.
I don't know about the other side.
there's trees that come up pretty much. I mean, they have like, from that edge of that steel track, about 18 foot over. And then, like those backyards go way back on every one of them, sort of unusable space. Now, maybe some landowners wouldn't agree to that or something, but it's just a thought that it could be.
You know, railroad track's pretty flat out here, but as you go west, I mean, it's up on levee and pretty sizable levee up
It'd be
there.
nicer to use one of the sidewalks, even if somewhere down. This might be over 5 years or something, even if we had to widen that sidewalk to a trail like they do in Lafayette, to a trail width or something where,
Isn't the one that's on this side, on Mike's side, isn't that wider blacktop? Isn't that a trail or is that a normal sidewalk? It seems like it's wider on his side of the street, it's wider than this side. But
We haven't run tickets to anybody, have we?
take your
For what?
golf cart.
Golf cart on the sidewalk?
Have a comment.
A lot of people want to, I think there's a lot of people thinking they'd like to drive up there,
I'm sure they would.
but to
We
get
would allow
some,
it.
to get
Right now, we
supplies,
would not
yeah,
allow it.
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So maybe we can all come up with a solution or something. You'd be the key there, but try to find out a solution.
I'd be the key to find the solution. Well, I think you're gonna have to spend money to widen it, not to make it physically able to do it.
Well, yeah.
It's definitely not wide enough right now.
Something a lot of people could use probably. But,
thank you.
thank you.
All right, we have a couple items we should address on 19.7 before we move on. All right, so we are adopting an ordinance to amend the town code, so we're doing that on first reading. So first, we need a motion to suspend the rules to waive an actual formal reading of the ordinance. And then we're going to need to have a motion to suspend the requirement to have a second reading and allow passage on the first reading. And then we need to vote by roll call vote.
What he said.
On this,
I make a motion to suspend reading ordinance 2019-7.
There's a Motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now we can make a motion
Motion to adopt on first reading and waive the requirement of.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2019-7 on first reading. And to
Waive the requirement for a second reading.
waive the requirement for second reading.
Second.
Motion made and properly seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Now
we
we're
do-
ready. Give us a motion to approve by roll call vote.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve by a roll call vote. Need a second?
Second.
Tammy?
Yes.
Yes. Ashley?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Is that all we need to do with that?
Yep.
This one is new and old business.
Hi, Greg Malakis, developer of one of the developers of Baker Farms. My address is 604 Stonyford Trace, Lafayette. Boy, that was pretty good on that ordinance right there. I wish I could fast track something like that. I'm just here just to talk briefly to give you a bit of an update on where we're at on the development, the status of our plans, the drainage, and also then talk about the easement a little bit. So we're getting pretty close on our plans. I think that on most of the major items, we have pretty much an agreement in principle, as I understand it, and this is from a layman's terms, all right? And as far as the drainage, that as well, I think we're pretty close, and we are prepared to contact the interested parties, the directly affected people that will be affected by the drainage, and call a special or private meeting with them to present what our drainage plans are and what we will accomplish with the development. I mean, just to let you know that on a development that you would normally have to retain water on site and discharge it, but retain water on a 100-year storm. So what we have designed right now is that we'll be able to capture the water on a 500-year storm. So that is a humongous improvement over what's being done now. We have 3 wet detention ponds and 1 dry pond that will all work, to retain water and then release it at a slower rate. Much less than what the ordinance would require. And Michelle's here. I don't know if I wasn't looking to go into depth unless someone had any particular question about that, but we will be calling a meeting with the interested parties, hopefully sometime at the end of July, and have a meeting probably downtown, either at Vestor's or at the John Purdue Club room down there by Preston's, and try to get everybody in the same room and explain it to those people so that they can understand and know where we're at and hopefully be on board with what we're doing prior to the presentation to the full council. Okay, so then the next step would be for us to present, our full plans for approval, hopefully at the August meeting. So we're kind of rapidly, pulling everything together and hope to have everything ready and presented at that meeting.
Who's August?
It will be the town board meeting.
So the drainage plan, without getting too far in the weeds, will your development, improve drainage by 10% or 5%, wastewater, the affected property owners are currently getting? We can record you if you work.
If you can, yeah, just for minute purposes.
I need help me.
I know. I did meet with his engineer today, and
from the numbers they've shown me, I don't have the full submittal yet, but just from the numbers they wanted to preliminarily show me, they are actually meeting our ordinance by a lot. Like, right now, I'm just throwing out numbers, they're releasing 15 CFS. The ordinance, because it's really strict, says they only can release 5, they're releasing less than 1. So they're not only trying to reduce it to the 100-year down, they're actually containing a 500-year in their pond and releasing it with level spreaders to really spread it out. So the adjacent property owners should notice a big decrease in what they do. I was actually really impressed with what they're proposing.
Great. You said there'd be 3 wet retentions and 1 dry?
Yes. So nice, and nice amenities at the same time.
Yeah. So the wet will be stocked? Or fish or?
One of them's pretty good size, yeah, it seems so, yeah. At least some grass-eating carp or something, you know? So, you know, I looked back and in my records and my emails and stuff, and believe it or not, I started meeting with Steve Connors in July of 2016 about doing this development. And have been working on it since then. It's obviously, it's been a marathon. We presented an offer to the church in July of 2018 for the easements necessary for the water and sewer. And then we found out about the utility service agreement that they executed when they built the church. So we feel like we have the easement by right. And then at I think the March board meeting is when we discussed a lot of that, and that's when the board voted on and requested that the developer prepared the easement documents and the survey work and the legal work, and Reed was part of that and reviewed it. And the easement document, I believe, that was in March. I think finally the easement document was sent to the church beginning of June. And here it is was it 8th of July? There hasn't really been a response to it yet. And we're getting right down to the nitty gritty. And we really need to have a resolution of that. And so, you know, I'm asking, you know, the town board, you know, what can we do to bring this, you know, to a close and get the easements granted that we're going to need, and, you know, and try to see if we can put it on a timeline, because we are getting right down to it. Development's going to be ready to start.
But you guys presented that to the church, and that your lawyer, Peter, called the church and talked to Dave Crandall, I think. And I think he told you guys what needed to be done to get this all completed. As they discussed the easement, he also told you there was no easement going all the way down there. There was only a 15-foot easement on half the property. That's what the church's lawyers determined, along with other people. Dan Keeter actually said, yes, we've had 3 lawyers look at it and got 3 different answers. So right there's been a lot of discussion between you and the church. So
there was one phone call from Dan Teeter to try to
okay,
to try to weigh in where the church was at. But really, the easement is a requirement for the church to grant the easement to the town, and it's not really to Greg or Greg's development.
okay,
It's for the benefit of our
you're making it
development.
sound like the church hasn't acted on it or anything. They've been filling you guys in, they have their meetings scheduled and everything, and they explained to you about what needed to be done.
Well, I think that needs to be explained to the town, or the town needs to be involved, because the grant of easement is to the town.
Well, they should, but maybe if they knew you're not on the agenda tonight, and I thought that things like this weren't supposed to be on the agenda, or you couldn't talk unless it was on the agenda.
Well, I thought.
Is that what you're saying, Ashley, hammer him down or
It's just
something?
new and old business.
Well, yeah, but it'd be nice when something involves the whole town, that you let the townspeople know if you want to discuss it. so that so maybe the church would be here and could have an answer for you.
Have
You
we
know?
heard, Rita, have we heard anything from the church on the easement?
No, the last time that I talked to Dave Crandall was in June, and he told me that he expected that the church would not be able to formally meet to discuss that until their July meeting, excuse me, and I don't know when that is. And I have not heard anything back from Dave Crandall.
Ron, I have a
Dave
question.
Crandall said that he talked to me today, and he said that when he talked to Teeter, he said they were rejecting that offer or something, and Teeter said they need to put it in writing. So Dave would okay that at the board and then put that in writing.
Ron, were you the clerk when this all took place, or was that before you? Whenever they put in the pipes out there and stuff at the church?
Sure.
Like about that, when that utility agreement was signed, were you the clerk or not the clerk? Because I'm just wondering why, after 17 years, if it says there's utility easement, that they didn't ever file their utility easement with the county if it was part of their agreement, and then now they would come to us, saying we owe all this money for something when they haven't completed the initial agreement by filing with the county.
Okay, first of all, there's no easement agreement
There's a-
with the county at all out there on a separate piece of
I mean,
land.
no, they didn't even do it with the town though. They didn't put any of the easement in. The easement stops right there.
Well, maybe our lawyer at the time should have worked with them and
I
done
mean,
his
that's why I was
job.
asking if you were on the council, because I hadn't.
No, Tyrone, I wasn't.
No,
If
that's-
you want to try to blame me, fine.
I'm not
I
trying to
think it was-
blame you, I'm
I
just
think it was our
asking you.
legal staff that didn't do their job, not
I mean,
me.
I
because I reported
100%
this.
agree, because I've read that,
You know?
that thing, and it's,
It's
it's all,
what?
it's all gray area, that whole.
Yeah, yeah, that's why we didn't pin it down at the time, just like the road up by McAllister, it's up in the air for the next board. This stuff down here is the next board, everything we just leave. I've been through, 3 or 4 boards now, councils, and we just all leave it up in the air.
So you're saying, through Dave Crandall, that your understanding is the church is not granting the easement, or?
That's right, yeah. But you can, if you guys would put it on the docket that everybody knows, the council, the people, everybody knows what's going on, then maybe everybody could be here to discuss it. But obviously, some of you are here with you, and some people know ahead of time you're showing up, I guess.
It's been on, it's been
It
on
hasn't,
previous
Greg, you gotta put it on
documents.
each and every month
Okay.
for, to get something. Dollar General can't just walk up here and propose something, because a year ago they were on the docket. We all agreed that it should be on there, so everybody knows ahead of time what's happening, instead of you guys always walking out here at the last minute and just throw this stuff out.
Ronnie, with all due respect, this is nothing, I'm not talking about anything new. Okay? I'm not discussing anything new.
Well, you're hinting at getting a decision tonight, Greg. That's what you're hinting at. But I would suggest you go talk to Dan Teeter and see what he talked to church about.
The easement is between the town and the church.
The town
The
doesn't.
town presented the easement to the church, and only thing I'm doing is urging the town to move forward in an expedited manner to try to secure the easement, because we're getting to the end game here, and we need to get resolution. It's been going on for a year, okay? Just asking.
It's been 17 years.
Well, it's been 17
The
years.
slowest expedition
So
of a
that's all
easement.
I'm saying.
Is it prudent for us to have somebody like a BF&S that specializes in easements and land acquisitions to retain their services for something like this easement? You know, they wrote the service utility agreement, the church signed, so, you know, maybe you can explain to you.
So we do have a right-of-way acquisitions department that when NDOT or towns and stuff are doing roads or utilities or anything, that they do the negotiations with the property owner. This has already been, you can go either way. I talked to our right-of-way manager, we didn't have a chance to get anything for tonight, but it can be as simple as Reed can take the church the documents and say, here's the easement, are you willing to sign it? Has that happened?
Yeah, I talked to Dave on the phone and said I'm gonna send this over by email and email.
And so they have it?
They have it,
So they just haven't responded?
right.
Since early June.
Okay.
And he
How
told
they-
me, well, on the phone that it was close in time to their June meeting, and that they did not expect to schedule a special meeting, and that it would be in
Under
July.
June, but you haven't heard anything?
I haven't heard anything.
Back. Because, you know, we can do it, we can have a negotiations person go and talk, take that same document, we wouldn't recreate new ones that it's already made, and talk to the church, ask to be at one of the board meetings, go. But, if they deny it or they say no, then you're gonna have your lawyer involved too. So you can either go that way. Yes, they're used to dealing with people, and yes, they're used to navigating through, you know, there's tons of property owners that are like, no, we're not giving it to you. Well, then you have to go into eminent domain. or
What did the
whatever else.
church tell Teeter? Do you know what the church answered Teeter? They said no.
They said that in principle they were in favor of doing the easement, but they were talking about doing like a 15-foot easement, which doesn't even work because of sewer. So that's why we need someone to talk to the church then, you know, that has knowledge and has believability, like the town's consultant. You know, that they should be believed, and if they give them compelling evidence why the easement has to be so wide, then maybe the church will accept that.
Well, okay, the church is in the process. Dave said they're in the process. You guys would have a letter or something, their answer within a few days, okay? So you probably ought to wait for that letter and get that answer, but he also told your
They
lawyer.
say that to me.
Well, he told your lawyer, he told your lawyer the process that needed to be done to get these easements through, okay, the different processes. And I think Dan said to him, well, the first step is you need to send us a letter saying that you're not accepting this, okay? And then he can take it from there, and you can take it from there, I guess. They know what you're talking about. They've got the easement thing, they've got all the information, they've been to meeting after meeting after meeting. They know what. I think you need to talk to Dan and see what the gist of that
I
conversation
think that
was.
the conversation needs to be between the town and the church.
Okay, then the town and the church can talk.
And I agree,
But you're out here talking, so, you know, apparently it's
asking. I think,
So, and I came in after the ground was annexed and all that. You know, in most situations, when the town needs to extend utilities out, for any reason, any town, they go to the homeowners, try to get the easements, and if the homeowners don't sign them, they do it through eminent domain. I mean, it's for public utilities, it's not for private gain, you know, that's just the way it's done. And that's a fairly quick process, so I'm not for sure why you ask the developer to try to get the easements, whenever it's really the town's responsibility to get this easement and to run the lines in. Now, on the town's part, you know, before you annex that ground as part of the town, you probably should have made sure, or you should have got these utility easements out to that point before. So we've got kind of things backwards a little bit. But instead of relying and asking and speaking about the developer and Mr. Teeter and doing all this, it's really the town's responsibility. I mean, and it's the most efficient way to get it done. So whether it's this development or any in the future, I mean, you do first things first and then you move along, but it makes sense to me, kind of what he's saying is that it's an easement to the town. It's going to be our easement, so you send it to the church. They're going to address it at their July meeting. If they don't sign it, I think you go directly to court and say, we're gonna get eminent domain and get this is the width we need, this is the distance we need, and we're moving forward. Or else we just keep kicking this dog at every meeting, and it's crazy, you know? I mean, the ground's been annexed, they need utilities out there, it's the town's responsibility to get those utilities out there. And
No, it's not.
I'm not for or against any of it, but that's the process and how it should unfold, and how it should move forward from this point on.
I believe that it's best that we hire BF&S, their division that deals with such things to help us out in talking with the church and negotiating with the church to get this easement. I'd make that motion, I guess.
I'll second.
Been a motion made, properly seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose it. Well, you guys got any idea what it's gonna cost, or
Well, I don't know, you know,
20,000, 5,000, 80,000?
Reed's services are, and I would think professional services like BFS is going to be a similar number. And again, they're the specialists.
What did that number be?
Is that something that can be done in about 30 days or so?
I would think so. When is their meeting? Does anybody know?
It's a July date, I'm sorry.
I don't know the date. Usually their meeting is somewhere around the second Tuesday of the month, give or take when it falls. So give them a chance to have their meeting
Yeah,
and address it.
yeah, absolutely. You know, so we're expecting to hear back from the church after this meeting, and, you know.
Yeah, so wait and contact us at the end of this week.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, once
And
the
if-
church
And if
gets
you need
back.
help,
Yeah,
they can. I mean, basically, they just are a facilitator. They just
yeah,
help
that's,
with negotiations, but if the church votes no, it's gonna go into condemnation or eminent domain anyway, so you might as well just pass that back on to Reed.
yeah, and I
And
think
not
you
waste the money.
know, having a facilitator might be very.
If they're undecided,
Right.
then, I mean, the nice thing about the right-of-way acquisition people is they know what you're talking about, they can help explain it, because, you know, some people don't understand. They can help explain that, things we put back as is, you know, they'll have some say in what trees are planted, because I know you're gonna take out some trees and stuff
Maybe help
like
them
that.
understand why.
Why
X
it's
number of
needed,
feet's
how it
needed.
could potentially benefit them and stuff like that. It's not just a, you know, this kind of meeting where they can't talk back and forth. You know, it's not presentations, it's more.
They know how many feet's needed, they know exactly. The question is, they don't want both things put on their side of the road. They want the water on one side and sewage on the other. So you guys are all pushing the church to do something they don't want to do. Now, maybe you can get it done, maybe you can sue them in court, maybe you can just snatch their land and do whatever you want to, but they know exactly what the right-of-ways are and the easements are and what they need and don't need, you know?
So the church is telling us where the utilities are going to be located?
Well, I think the whole town back years ago, the utilities, like on my side of the road, there's the water, and on their side of the road is the sewage. That's always been, no, it's not the church, they're just following what's always been for the last 80 years around here, or 40 years. You guys are switching it because you don't think Cindy and I will give those right-of-ways, or it'll be a hassle or something. You guys are the ones that are switching it and cramming both pipes in the one place on the one side, and you'll go down and then you'll zigzag, you annex land. We have a hole in the middle of our city now. You're putting both pipes on one side. Lafayette says they should go on separate sides. I think Mark said preferably they should go on other sides, separate sides.
There's a case made for both of those, but, so you're saying that the church wants the water on your and Cindy's side of the road, so, I mean, they're looking out for your financial best interest?
No, actually, they're looking out for the town's best interest.
Well, by making the town put the water, by the church dictating what side the water goes on, okay, you and Cindy on the other side of the road, so the church is helping you guys out by forcing the town to put
No,
water on that side of the road.
they don't
Well, they're not
want,
making anything.
if I owned land where the church is, I wouldn't want both things crammed on my side. Maybe you ought to look out for the townspeople and ask the developers. I still don't know, Greg, after a year, you started this a year ago, these people out here, and I don't know still, who's paying for the total cost of bringing the water and sewage back to the point of connection at Wesleyan Drive. It wasn't in our fiscal report, that's why there's a lawsuit. You guys all fought that lawsuit, and I still don't know to this day who's paying for it.
I'm hating it.
Then why, if you're paying it, why wasn't in the fiscal report that he's paying it?
So Ron, I did address that when I was preparing to approach the church and have an email exchange with what language we would add to the utility service agreement. We just weren't at the point to move forward with executing the utility service agreement, but I do have that in,
Have what, who's paying for it, or?
yes, that adding that Greg, the developer, will be paying for that because
Yeah, back
That-
to
because
Wesleyan,
I
back
agree
to
with you
Wesleyan Drive,
that
right?
it was not in the
Clear
fiscal
back.
plan before.
Clear back to Wesleyan Drive, right? Or is this a
Yeah.
mix of words?
So it's all the way down.
All the way down to Wesleyan
It
Drive?
was put in the letter of intent to the church. I sent this letter of intent to the church
We got
In
copies of
July.
those.
Yeah.
in July of last year, and it's all in there.
That you would pay for it, and put the
Oh,
the water and sewage clear down.
This has been answered, what,
So then
5
why-
times?
It's probably 15 times.
15 times this has been answered?
So why do we keep talking at these meetings?
Well,
Wait,
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 you
no.
keep asking the same question.
No, I don't.
That's the first time we've ever heard that answer.
Do you guys know
asking the
who's
same
paying
question.
for it all?
No.
It sounded to me like these other meetings we've had, Tyrone, at these other meetings, you guys have never answered. You just said, what does our ordinance say? What does our ordinance say? Why don't you put it in the fiscal report then, if that's the truth? Why did you fight the lawsuit if they're gonna pay for it? Why did you fight it? Why did you fight it?
Because it was
Why did
wrong.
you fight
Okay,
it,
Ron, you're
Tyrone?
done. You're
Why
done.
did you
You're done.
fight it?
Ron, you're done.
Why'd you fight it?
Marshall, if he keeps acting up, he needs to
Oh,
go.
please. Oh,
And Cindy.
yeah, me first, please.
And Cindy,
You better bring a lot of cuss, because you're taking us off.
Yeah.
So you're gonna do
Any
what?
more co-delegation? Is there more open new business?
Anybody else in more business?
Cindy Marsh, 749 Shady Lane. First of all, Tyrone, the easement with the church's utility service agreement was notarized and filed, and it's a 15-foot easement to the town limits.
Where is it? How
And
come they don't have it? The county doesn't have it.
the county has it the same as they have ours. It's just filed with the utility service agreement the same as ours was, well, on our map. And this new contrived version of trying to take the 35-foot easement illegitimately is going to be challenged. You can't just take somebody's land and get by with it. And why is it the town's concern to get an easement out to that? We're not building the subdivision.
Because of the
If it's
town.
gonna cost anybody anything, it should be them. And I hope if the town incurs any expenses associated with getting any easement, that they're the ones paying for it, not the taxpayers of Dayton. And if you do it the right way, instead of, you've gone about everything in such a sneaky and underhanded way from the very beginning, that if you'd just done everything the right way and negotiated a little bit, we wouldn't have had any of this contention like we've had now. And you've caused it all. The other thing is about the UMBA, or whatever they're called nowadays, in the TIF district. They said $15,000, and I want to get back to that subject because you had them come special to do a cost-benefit analysis. And we asked them specifically about all the costs that were involved. And they did a little presentation, which was allegedly going to cost us $4,500 of the $15,000, I assume. And it was nothing. There was nothing to it, except it showed that we would get like $24,000 in tip funds from the truck dealership. Other than that, it showed no other costs. It was the pathetic excuse for a cost-benefit analysis. And they were asked specifically about any professional fees that would be involved in either the creating or maintenance and upkeep as years go on of the TIF district. And they dismissed it as being trivial, that everything we could do in-house. There would not be any significant expenses. So the people of Dayton have been misled, and I think that it's going to end up being a lot more than the $30,000 that we know about now.
Anyone else new and old business?
Jen, Renee was 625, Harrison Circle. Is there a way if we do have to call, what did you call it? Mediation or whatever? You said we could call, there's something at your office to like mediate between them. Is there any way the developers can pay whatever it ends up being? Since they need the,
Well, they should pay.
yeah,
Sorry,
what's
I thought
that
you were-
called?
Oh, the right-of-way acquisition.
Right-of-way acquisition, yeah.
I don't know. The biggest thing is I think when you annex, you have to provide public utilities, don't you? Isn't that part of the annexation?
Yeah.
So the extending and getting this easement is really to provide that land with public utilities. So it is in the interest of the town. I know it was 15 feet, it's 35 feet. That is driven by the town too for expansion because of the depth of the sewer. No matter where the water goes, the sewer has to be that deep. So 35 feet is what the town needs to expand the sewer, to be able to do not only that development, but any other development down there. So it's kind of to serve the whole annexed area.
So no matter if they put them on either side of the road or crown both on one side, it has to be 35 feet?
Yeah, even if you put the water on the other side, then you have to get 2 easements, which can be done. But the church, it doesn't affect how wide the church one is. The sewer's driving how wide the church one is. So if the water goes on the other side of the road, they still need a 35-foot easement from the church because of the depth of the sewer to be able to install it and maintain it. The water's only 5 feet deep, so it can still be over 10 feet away, which is the code, and still be enough 35 feet without making it any wider or narrower.
So it needs 30.
So they could potentially get a 15-foot wide on one side and a 35-foot on the other, if that's the way they want to go. And then the town can try to pursue 2 easements, or the 35 on the one side. It doesn't really hurt either way.
Michelle, they have to have 35 foot. Why is there only a 15-foot easement along there now?
Because it wasn't designed. It wasn't the sewer based on the depth and everything. When they decided that 15-foot arbitrary easement, they're assuming a 5 to 10-foot deep sewer.
When you come back this way on our property, I think there's not a 35-foot easement, so.
It might not be as deep though.
It's all 16 foot, it's within a foot depth, you know that, as it goes out there, it goes for miles, and it's within a foot. It's only has to go an inch per every so many thousand foot. And then also too, if the town's supposed to provide an easement, if they wanted to provide an easement, why did they annex around? There's a big 10-acre spot in the middle that the town doesn't own. So they can't make somebody put an easement on it when they don't own it. Why did we annex around that to begin with? I never did understand that.
The church not want it
No, they didn't want it annexed. I think because the church then didn't have a say-so on this annexation. It's one more of these little tricks. But now we have, why guys, do you know why we annexed around it? And have this 10-acre plot, which nobody's ever heard of in the middle of your town. Lafayette doesn't agree with that. Everybody I've ever talked to doesn't agree with that. But we went ahead and we annexed around
They
it.
came and asked,
Do
and they still said.
they want to?
They didn't care if you annexed it or not, actually. You guys just came up, and I think there's a rule that if it's so 1,400 some linear foot, if you annex only a certain portion, the church has, only the people that are close there can really fight an annexation. And I think it was done for an advantage, so the church couldn't have a say-so in that annexation. Could be wrong.
I don't know that town's board's opposed to annexing that land if they'd like to be elected.
Why didn't we do it before when this whole
I
thing?
don't know.
Well, I mean,
It's not too late. We can do it.
why did we advertise legally to have a rezone meeting at the church, and we get out there and illegally, we changed it that night to an annexation meeting? It was advertised as a rezone meeting, we got out there and it changed to an annexation meeting. Nat, you can't do that. You know, there's a lot of these things that were done along the way. So now, but what they're trying to do, the church is, I think, trying to say, like everywhere else in town, you go up here, the water's on one side, the sewage is on the other side. That's what the town boards for 20 years, let me finish speaking, is always done for 20, 30 years since all this stuff's been put in. So it should be the same going out there. Same way, eventually, we should probably annex all the land as we go out. Even on our side, you shouldn't go around a certain person's
What I've
land.
been told by the church is, they don't care if it's on both sides, they care about the 35-foot easement because they don't want the trees taken out. Trees will come over.
Well, they know the trees are taken out.
And so that was their concern, it was not the width of it except for exceeding, not the double lines, the taking of the
No,
trees
well,
out.
you better
It's even
talk-
in meetings, if you listen to the meetings, that's what they said.
Actually, I talk to the church every single day, okay?
I know
They're
you
the
do a
guys that
lot
are
of stuff.
talking to me, and they don't care, they know the trees, they'd rather them be left, but that's a minute thing. They don't want the water and
That-
sewage
that's
on
the
the
main
both
thing that
sides.
I've
Go talk to Dave Crandall, call him up right now, and see what he says to Malakis's lawyer the other day. He just told him they want the water on the other side. So, geez.
Why don't they?
My one last thing was, earlier, when somebody was asking for credits because he bought a property, like, and there was like a bill, and he thought he should get a credit because he only had to pay wastewater, whatever. You guys said, well, no, for this many years, we've always charged him. We've always charged him. No, where he's not gonna get credits, we've always done it this way. But then when they wanted to put both things on one side of the road, even Mark and other people were like, well, we always put them on separate sides of the road, and you guys were like, no, just put them on both sides of the road. So like,
Well, one's an
It
ordinance, and one's just a
Only-
preference.
I think we're campaigning.
Yeah.
campaigning?
Yeah, but
Go on.
one is an ordinance, so it's written that we have to pay.
But like, couldn't you have given that guy a credit
Well, it's-
or whatever?
The way that we have it written, we,
crazy.
We've not, that's not been a standard practice.
We
So
could
it's not
give
been a
them a
standard
credit,
practice,
but we
it's also
don't
not
do
been
it.
a standard practice to put both things on one side of the road or something.
Utilities can be on the same side of the road, or they can be opposite one another.
And you can give people credit.
You're
so
right,
they can't,
Jan,
right?
we switch it for the, because this board is for the developers. It's
I'm
not
just
for
saying,
the,
like,
not for the
You
majority
do
of
a thing
people.
for him, but then this guy, you can't do a thing for him.
You might be able to get with Mark at some time and look at our utility maps, and maybe there's other spots in town where both utilities are on the same side of the road. I don't know. You know, We ran into some of that when the 38 was redone.
No utilities are on the same side.
If the developer has his surveyor draw up an easement for the water utility on your side of the road, and the church is gonna have the same easements that they already have drawn up, because that's physically what they need for their construction limits, would you be opposed to that, if I have them request that they do that? Can that, will that make it go through faster?
I think it's not your place, I think it's them that needs it, or their lawyer needs to contact us.
Well, I was just
and
doing it as
propose-
a
and pro-
reviewing,
And
like,
propose something, okay?
okay, so it won't be fast, it only gets.
Well, sure, it might. What do you mean it won't be fast? How do you know? Because I say their lawyer ought to contact us? I've asked that before for them to contact. I came downtown, talked to Greg, and I said, you know that, Greg. All you guys do, you guys, you're talking about church, you haven't talked to us. You haven't contacted us in 4 months
The whole
or 3
issue needs
months.
to be resolved by one party to negotiate it. That'd be the best way. to do it.
Well, then let's all get together.
And that's DFNS as of tonight.
What you should have done is, Greg, is you should have, before you did all this, get the easements rights on both sides of the road, instead of cramming it down everybody's throat.
Well, the town should have.
Well, the town should have done it before we annexed,
Very
before we
planned,
rezoned,
You're right.
before we did anything.
You're right.
That's right, we should have done it. We did it all backwards so we could stick it to the townspeople.
Okay, reports from council members, Ron?
The only thing I want to say is I see a lot of people out here running against us up here, and I think, I just want to applaud them and say that they might even beat me, but I want to applaud them and say thanks for standing up. We've never really had this much participation in a town election before, so I think that's great.
I'd like to,
Is people still?
are we still,
Al Beaver, 758 Main Street. My experience, even as a kid, going back where I watched developers build properties, all scale of all size houses, they would give a visual presentation. I had talked to some people that it was great. I mean, it was a thing where they invited the town or the area of the city and said, we're gonna put this in. And they had a wonderful layout, down to the scale of the houses, how they were gonna be laid out. They would have the lines of utilities where, you know, how this is all going to be. Even where the manhole covers were gonna be. It was wonderful, as a kid, to look at some of this stuff. Later on, when I lived in Atlanta, there was another thing like that. And you could see physically what it was going to be. Now all we do is hear words, description, and it just clouds the mind. It doesn't get handled very well. And with all this technology, we could be looking physically at where the lines could have been, easements, how this plan would have come together. And for Mr. Malakis, it would have been a great sell if he had done that at this point.
We did a lot of it.
No, you didn't.
I didn't see anything. All I had was a piece of paper, what looked like it was drawn with an architect's pencil, and that was it.
is there more residents or not? Or start again if there's not. I'd like to thank the Boy Scout Troop 316 for cleaning up the Wob Creek area right outside town. And that was Jonathan Dice's Eagle Scout project. And you know, I know a lot of people appreciate the Scout Troop doing that. And I just wanted to let the Scout Troop know that the town of Dayton really appreciates everything they did out there. Tyrone and I attended a meeting with Greater Lafayette Chamber and Watch Communication. And there's a $29 million grant through the state of Indiana for broadband communication upgrades and expansion. And the town of Dayton was invited to participate in that. We're in a region with 9 counties, and that's all being funneled through Watch Communications and Greater Lafayette Chamber. Right now, they're just doing some preliminary work, and hopefully as time goes by, we'll hear more about that. But it's also the town of Dayton was asked to be involved in that. There is no cost to the town of Dayton. Tippecanoe County has picked up the cost for the town of Dayton, and you know, that's goes to show you that working with Greater Lafayette and Tippecanoe County and some of our neighboring agencies does pay off for the town of Dayton. So, and that's all I got.
Oh, wait, I just forgot something, I just wanna make sure. So, do I have the okay to get the tripod so that Tammy can start recording this month's meeting? Okay. And then
Do you have any ideas on price?
I can check like Amazon and Best Buy and all of that, and then I can get with you.
Shouldn't be much.
Yeah, I don't think they are. And just, because I know Ashley, I get numerous calls. Ashley's one of them, Ron's one of them, Tyrant, you're one of them. Like, when I make the agendas or I send out the text, before I do the agendas, I always ask, is there anything special I need to ask to, or add to the agenda? And Ashley and I have talked numerous times, and you've told me that if anybody wants to be on the agenda or speak, they need to contact me, tell me who they are, who they're with, what they want to come for, so that the people know. So I understand it's new and old business, but you called me, Ron called me, I have residents who call me, and I didn't know Greg was gonna be here, like Ben. I mean, it's new and old business, but he was on the agenda, he could've just showed up and.
Yeah, my big thing about people being on the agenda, and it wasn't true with Mr. Malacus, you know, there's nothing worse than when you're up here as a board member, and somebody shows up, and they've got a 5-page handout that they want you to read while they're up there speaking. And it's hard to, you know, read something and pay attention to the person up there and have any time to absorb it. You know, in this particular instance, sounds to me like he was just here trying to follow up on.
Right.
I think he was going to ask some questions for the board to make a decision until we started arguing.
But the thing is when you have somebody who's gonna show up for more than a 3 or 5 minute spiel, and I think he's been here for the past 2 months, and I just think it's fair to everybody, you know, that, I mean, how am I supposed to let, it's just.
DFNS is here.
Right, but I'm saying you specifically told me that nobody can get up and speak, or it should be the rule unless they say who they are, who they're, but it's not. So I think it should be fair if anybody wants to get up. So, because if you guys say, hey, is it gonna be a long meeting? Oh, no, nothing important, and next thing we have somebody up here 20 minutes.
Especially on such a volatile issue that has divided this town completely. That I think it'd be fair to know, maybe the church could have been here, everybody could have been here.
I think it should be
Anyone sticks to our agenda or public comment rules.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, I got cake on my I forgot it was her birthday.
You're 52. Sue tells me she's 50.
68. And all the kids. No, I had this on at 5 o'clock. Then all the kids called and said, we're coming out, Grandma. I said, well, you know, I got to know that cake.
No, I don't care how fast it goes. You're standing there trying to help That's not, there's a team.
You're here, you're trying to get this for Cindy.
I can't bend over that good.
And it's charged, well, it's like I charged it, it doesn't have like a double layer.
wouldn't have gotten such a. And I think
Yeah, I know this one had that one where you can record, and somebody talked to me and said, well, I think that's what I forgot to actually tell them about that, having that where it would be, because there's so much back and forth, it was just be a comments.
Well, you could disagree. Well, I understand Steve.
But
anyway, still.
Let's just sneak it in.
There's no respect amongst any of
No business.
Right. Like this meeting, or I'm having, this meeting will probably take 6 hours. To do the minutes.
Very frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, we gotta order it and see.
You're welcome.